for here today. This is called Snake Game. And what we're going to do in Snake Game is we've got three sprites. We've got the head of the snake, we've got some food that we're going to collect, and we've got the snake body. So let me click on full screen, click on the green flag, and show you how this works. So essentially we eat food and we go around, and as we're eating food and the time is passing, our snake body grows. If our snake ever hits the edge, the game is over and we start again, or if we eat our own body. So what we're going to do is we let this get a little longer, and then what we're going to see is that eventually it gets so long that we run the risk of actually hitting our own body. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be able to see some events in action, some boundary conditions based on color. So let's go ahead and stop this and let's get started. So first let's start with the head. Let's program this head. So let's clear all this existing code out of here. And so the first thing that we want to start with is a when green flag clicked. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to have our snake head go to 0, 0 when we first get started. Following that, we're going to get ourselves a forever loop. And we're going to put a couple of if then conditional statements inside of here for that motion. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so then what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a couple sensings. So we're going to do a key space pressed, another key space pressed, and we're going to change this to up, down, left, and right. So we're going to change this to the up arrow. Then we're going to change the next one to the down arrow. We're going to change the next one to the left arrow, and then the final one to the right arrow. And then what we're going to put in here is we're going to have this be based on direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to say point in direction is what's going to be the thing that we're going to do when the condition is met. So the first one we're going to have set at if the up arrow is pressed, what we're going to have it do is we're going to have it go 0 degrees. So we're going to have it pointing up. And then if the down arrow is pressed, what we're going to have it do is point in 180 degrees. And then what we're going to do if the left arrow is pressed, we're going to have it point minus 90. And then if the right arrow is pressed, we're going to have it point in the 90-degree direction. What we're going to add in here at the very top is we want to make sure that we have our snake able to move. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this move 5 steps. So it's always going to be moving in a direction. And then based on those key presses, it's going to determine whether or not it goes up, down, left, or right. The final thing that we want to be able to do is we want to sense whether or not it's touching the edge. So instead of mouse pointer, we're going to have it be touching the edge. And so then what we're going to do is we're going to grab ourselves a sound block, and we're going to have it actually, no, we're going to have it say something. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this do a say block, and we're going to have this say ouch. And instead of it being for 2 seconds, we're going to have it be for 1 second. And then what we're going to do is we're going to stop the entire thing. The next thing that we need to do is we need to program what happens if we touch our body. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into events, get ourselves a when green flag clicked, get ourselves a forever loop from control. We're going to put an if then conditional statement inside of here, and we're going to get ourselves a sensing block, and we're going to have it say if color is touching. So what we're going to say is the color that we want to have testing for is this red here. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab that there. Actually, that got the... So we have it when that red lights up. We're going to grab that. And then we want to do if it's touching this green. So we're going to grab this dropper again, and we're going to grab that green. And so that basically says that if we're touching, if the tongue is touching the body of the snake, then what it's going to do is essentially it's going to say ouch for 2 seconds and the game is going to be over. So we're going to put this in here. We're going to have it say ouch for 2 seconds, and then we're going to stop the entire thing. So let's grab a stop all block. And that's really all we need to do for the head. So now we're going to switch over to the food. So within the food, what we're going to do is we're going to grab ourselves a when green flag clicked. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create ourselves a score variable. So we're going to say score. We're going to get rid of this other one. And so what we want to do is when the game starts, we want to make sure that we set that score to 0. I'm going to move this up here so it's at the very top. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a forever loop. And inside of that forever loop, we're going to get ourselves an if-then conditional statement. And the statement that we want to be able to sense for is, are we touching the head? So we're going to drop that right in there. We're going to switch that over to head. And then what we're going to want to do is if we're touching the head, what we're going to do is we're going to change that score variable by 1. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have this go to a random position. And if it's ever on the edge, what we're going to have it do is bounce. And so that's going to basically say what the food variable does. And then what we're going to finally do is we're going to program this snake body. So what we're going to do is let's clear this existing code out of here. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a when green flag clicked from events. And then what we're going to do is initially we want this to hide. So what this means is that we're going to be creating some clones here. So we're going to go to control. We're going to get ourselves a forever loop. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say create clone of myself. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to wait a certain amount of time to do that. We're going to have this be 1/10 of a second. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give instructions to say what happens when I start as a clone. So what we're going to do is we go back to control. We're going to get ourselves a when I start as clone block. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to show ourselves. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a few motion blocks. So the first motion block that we're going to do is we're going to say we want this to go to the head. And then the next thing that we wanted to do was we wanted to point in direction. And then within that pointing direction, what we're trying to make sure that we are pointed in is the direction of the head. So we're going to go into sensing. We're going to get ourselves this block here. We're going to change this drop down to head, and then we're going to get a couple different options. And what we're going to do is we're going to change that to direction. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go back into control, get ourselves a wait block, and then we're going to get ourselves a divisor operator from the math section here. So we're going to pop this right in here. And what we want to do is we want this score to be divided by 10. So we're going to drag this over here. Up, popped it out of there. Let's pop that back in there. We're going to have that be divided by 10. And then what the final thing we're going to do is we're going to delete that clone. So we go to the very bottom here, delete this clone. And so now what we're going to do is let's make sure that we have everything in here. We have ouch, ouch. All right, we have the food. And so now let's test this out. So let's click on the green flag. And what we see is we're going. Snake is getting longer as we eat more food. And then if we crash into the wall, we say ouch, and the game is over. And then let's go one more time. So what we see is that as we're getting that food, the snake is growing, and then eventually the snake gets so long that you can sometimes crash into your own body, and that means that the game is also over because you essentially ate yourself. So hope you enjoyed this project, and you can obviously customize the background, you can add some different things, you could add different types of food, but we hope to see you for the next one. Thank you so much.